Hi, Gloria. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. And I'm really excited to have you speak with us and our listeners today. So, Gloria is currently the HR director of Ikano Retail. Ikano Retail is what we know as IKEA. So, you see those big boards of IKEA. Gloria is the HR director. So, Gloria, once again, welcome. And tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you land at Ikano Retail?
Thanks for having me, Ritu. How I started my career, I started off as a recruitment consultant with Adecco. And from there, I moved on to different career path in operations, in retail operations, running employment agency before I embarked into a HR career.
Wow. Did you always want to be in HR?
Not exactly. My childhood aspiration is to be a businesswoman, to be in sales, rather than a HR.
So do you now bring your sales element to HR at all?
I guess I bring in different perspective to HR. I always believe, I'm very inspired by my dad, who always tell me that, think out of the box. You don't have to do things the same way as what other people do. So with that, maybe I wear a different hat, in HR.
Nice. I know you said you did run an employment agency, recruitment agency. At what point did you think, okay, maybe I should head to HR?
Well, I think my career have, been focusing a lot in recruitment, which is one of the aspect of HR that when I first started off. Then I moved on to retail operations. One day I chanced upon a role as looking for an HR manager with some retail operations background. I thought that, hey, you're looking for me. And that's where, I joined the organization. And from there on, I built my HR career from there on.
Wow. I mean, as you're saying, there's like one thing that's standing out for me, which is, once you develop expertise, you never know where it lands, right? Like, because a lot of young women leaders say, oh, I want to do this, or I don't want to do that. But just listening to you, you're like, okay, retail operation, and that experience and expertise landed you in HR, HR and retail. So you never know, right? Like, how do you see value of operations or other experience being used in your HR function?
Well, I think as HR is not an administrative function, it is a business partner. Understanding the business, understanding our P&L, the retail operations, not only retail operations, right? The business operations definitely support in our decision making and how we actually better partner with the organization. How can we make strategic decisions? Etc. So I think having that perspective actually bring in a different or different decisions that I made, in the HR agenda.
Yeah. I mean, it makes so much sense. Again, going back to a lot of women leaders that I work with, sometimes tend to get fixated early on that this is what I like and this is what I'll do. But there is merit in trying different things and then bringing all those expertise. Like just hearing you, there's no expertise that really goes for a waste. Like you always utilize it in your whatever job you're doing. In your case, it's HR. So that's really nice. I'm going to switch gears, Gloria. Wearing the lens of a women leader, what have been some of the challenges that you saw in your journey?
Once you are in a senior role, I think many times what your immediate colleagues, many of them are actually your male colleagues. And how do you actually have a voice in the boardroom, in meetings? I think that is what I see as one of the challenge itself. And sometimes, if you are the only women, I think it will be even more difficult. I would say that probably is one of the challenge, but at the same time, it is an advantage because you bring in different perspective. You come from a different voice. That also gives, the general bigger team a diverse point of view.
Yeah. And that's a great point. Sometimes we can use us being the only person in the room to our advantage. You can leverage that, right? Like to have a voice, to bring a different perspective. But I also know it's not always easy. How does one ensure they are they are being heard or their voices are being listened to?
Well, I think the first thing is I establish relationship. I think having that network is important. Not only a relationship in the bigger team, but the relationship and understanding the business needs of each person's perspective. I think that is the key to start off. I think with that, you gain the respect from your colleagues and the team, and that is where I think when you say something, your voice is being heard. They know you, and they know what to ask. They know that you are going to add value to that conversation.
Based on your experience, Gloria, what are one or two nuggets of wisdom would you give to the younger women leaders?
I would say that to be different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think many times we think that we need to conform, we need to be apart in order to be considered inclusive. But actually, there is no need. Be confident in yourself, right? Voice out your point of view. It's okay to have a different point of view. It is not okay not to have a point of view.
Yeah. Yeah. In your journey so far, was there ever an incident or an episode which made you change the way you were operating, or which maybe made you shift the way you were functioning? Was there anything you can recall?
Yes, there are incidences that made me change the way I think. One of it is actually through the death of my sister and my mom. So that actually makes me reflect, a lot about material things, material possessions in life, and I'm a big adopter of, the Marie Kondo decluttering. One major change in my life is that, with this decluttering, I actually declutter a lot. I felt that even in work, right, let's make things simple. We don't need to make it so complicated. In relationships as well, declutter away those that is actually toxic relationship. Treasure those who actually makes a difference in your life and whom you really love. So I think such episodes and incidents in my life has made me change my perspective.
I mean, I know. Thanks for sharing that, because these personal episodes play such a big role in our lives, right? Like they kind of shift our thinking so much. I really liked the comparison you did with the personal front episode, but also like the whole decluttering thing at work. Again, I'm generalizing, but I know in my work as a coach working with women leaders, we sometimes just over worry about different things that are happening at work, different equation, who said what. We get so caught up in that, right? And therefore, what you're saying about decluttering, that's so important. Give us a little bit more view in terms of what do you, when you're saying decluttering, relationships thing, give us a little bit more view in how do you do that at work?
Well, I think the first thing is like what you mentioned, many women leaders feel very affected by how people perceive them,
Yeah.
what have been said about them. I think, what I did is that I will take that as thank you for your input. Thanks for that feedback, but move on. I think there's no point to sit with all things that, it doesn't benefit you and be affected by it. If you think that it is a good input and feedback, take it positively, change, make that change. But however, if it is, something that you don't think it makes any value, or then just take it as a feedback and move on. I don't think we should actually ponder about on things like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's such a good point about feedback, because everybody says that, oh, feedback is a gift, feedback is a gift, and sometimes I think we take that feedback too literally, and I jokingly say, yeah, it's a gift, but sometimes we don't necessarily like the gifts that we receive, right? So if we don't like the gifts, then we just put it aside. So similarly with feedback, take what it is, but you don't have to listen to every feedback that's given to you if you don't think. I think that's a really, really good point. So how do you define success today? What does success mean to you?
Oh, a good question, Ritu. Well, to me, success is a mindset. It is being contented, being happy, I think that's more important. I don't think it is about, the material possessions. It's not only about, what we have accomplished in our career, but what we have gained, right, in our friendships, uh, yeah, and the relationships that we have made. I think that to me is even more success. It's called how I define success more than, any material possessions.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. Success is a mindset. It's good. Um, Gloria, if you were to look back, knowing what you know today, what would you tell your younger self? Would you do anything differently?
Well, I will tell my younger self, to have fun and yeah, explore, not to be afraid of failure and do even more than what I have done.
Yeah, not to be afraid of failure. That's so nice. Is there any advice you would have for young women leaders?
I think it's the same as what I would say to my younger self.
Nice.
Be courageous. Yeah, take on more. Not to worry about being tasked to do more things. Always go all out and contribute even more than expected.
Yeah, yeah, like that. Is there one thing that you would tell the young women leaders, something that you did in your career that worked out really well, and that you think others can take it and do it?
Yes, I would say speak up. Do not be afraid to speak up, and remember that your point of view is valued.
Just listening to your experience and your success story, it seems like organizations have a big role to play, right, in nurturing talent and especially nurturing diverse talent, women leaders, especially women leaders, since we are talking about that in our podcast. What has been your experience? How has organization and the leaders in the organization have played a role in your journey?
Well, I think the company plays a very important role. Looking at myself and my journey with Ikano, I think Ikano gives me opportunities. Ikano believes in me, and this actually has helped me to be where I am today. So the organization need to take a step, and at the same time, when such opportunity are given, I would say women leader or any leaders, right? Just take the chance on it. If you believe that you can do it, go all out for it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's such a great advice because we've heard the classic study of how men, even with X% qualification, will apply for a job. Women with even greater qualification will hold themselves back. But again, if the organization provides opportunity, I think women leaders should also raise their hand and grab that, right? Thanks, Gloria. It's been a great conversation. We covered so many things. Right from leveraging a difference, how the advice like make sure your voice gets heard. That is key. I think we sometimes underestimate the value of our difference. And therefore, how do we leverage that? But also voice out our opinion. Sometimes we think, oh, that's not the majority. We kind of, are not sure. But I guess what I heard from you is just voice it out. It's a different perspective you're providing. And I loved your definition. Thirdly, I loved your definition about success, that success is mindset. So thank you so much once again. And, I've gone away with two things really, is be courageous and go all out. Don't hold yourself back. So thank you once again, Gloria. It was lovely to have you on this episode.
Thank you, Ritu.